Think forget the Tyrant King.
30 million years before the first Tyrannosaurus Rex drew breath, a different nightmare was already rewriting the rules of size in the southern hemisphere.
We grew up believing the T-Rex was the largest predator to ever walk the earth. The textbooks told us so. The museums enshrined it. Hollywood made it law. The textbooks were wrong.
In the sun-scorched badlands of Patagonia, 97 million years ago, a creature stretched to 13.2 meters.
43 feet of muscle, bone, and serrated blade. Its skull alone measured 6 feet from snout to skull base. That is taller than most humans standing upright. And it existed in a world the Tyrannosaurus would never see. This is the Giganotosaurus carolinii. The southern giant. The Carcharodontosaurid apex, a term that translates, roughly, to shark-toothed lizard. But calling it a lizard is like calling a nuclear submarine a boat. The comparison fails before it begins. Here is the paradox that still divides paleontologists. Giganotosaurus weighed 8 tons. At that mass, biomechanics becomes a prison. The math is unforgiving. This creature could not run. It was physically incapable of sprinting. The bones would shatter. The joints would fail. The energy cost would drain it before any chase could end. So how does a predator that can only walk become the apex of an entire continent? That question has no easy answer. And there is something else. In the same Patagonian deposits where the first Giganotosaurus was unearthed, researchers discovered teeth. Just teeth. Isolated. Serrated. And 8% larger than any specimen on record. If those teeth belong to what the proportions suggest, we have not found the real giant yet. We have found its smaller cousin. To understand the paradox, you have to look inside. Into a skull the length of a human body. Into a brain that was different. Picture that skull. Not as bone. As architecture. 6 feet of biological scaffolding filled with 70 serrated teeth. Each tooth compressed sideways, not round like a T-Rex fang, but flat like a steak knife. This was not a jaw designed for crushing. This was an industrial meat slicer, a 6-foot assembly of reciprocating blades engineered for high-volume flesh removal. The Tyrannosaurus was a bone crusher. Its bite force exceeded 12,000 pounds per square inch. It obliterated skeletal structures. It shattered femurs. The Giganotosaurus operated on different principles. It was a flesh carver. It did not need to kill in one bite. It would deconstruct prey piece by piece, like a butcher breaking down a carcass on an assembly line. The slicing bite requires less force. It wastes less energy. It can be repeated endlessly without fatigue. Evolution did not just make this creature large. It engineered it for efficiency. This is not a predator. This is a biological siege engine. But teeth are only half the equation. To use a blade, you need to see your target. Imagine standing in the Cretaceous Patagonian desert. You are a sauropod, a 70-ton herbivore, moving across cracked earth. You think you are safe because you see nothing on the horizon. You are wrong. The Giganotosaurus is not looking at you. It is tracking you. Its eyes were positioned with significant binocular overlap, like a hawk, not a horse. This was not panoramic prey vision designed to spot threats from the side. This was predator optics. Targeting systems calibrated to calculate distance across hundreds of meters of heat, shimmer, and dust. But here is what disturbs the paleontologists: it did not just see. It felt. Giganotosaurus communicated in infrasound, frequencies so low they bypass the ear and vibrate directly through bone. You would not hear it coming. You would feel a pressure in your chest. A hum rising through the earth beneath your feet. And by then, you would already be marked. Now scale outward. Imagine this creature, 13 meters of muscle and blade, standing in a landscape where the largest prey was the size of a commercial airliner. The Argentinosaurus. 70 tons of walking protein. This was not hunting. This was strategic predation on an industrial scale. Let us go inside.
If we could X-ray through that 6-foot skull, peel away bone, muscle, sensory architecture, we would find something unexpected.
A brain. Larger than any of its close relatives.
More complex than it had any right to be for a creature of this mass and era.
This is the answer to the paradox.
The Giganotosaurus did not need to run because it did not need to chase.
It was smarter than its ecosystem required. It could track. It could anticipate. It could coordinate.
There is evidence, controversial, but growing, that Carcharodontosaurids may have hunted in groups. Mapusaurus, the pack-hunting cousin, left bone beds suggesting coordinated kills.
If Giganotosaurus shared this behavior, we have been asking the wrong question. It is not how does a slow predator survive. It is why would a predator this intelligent need to run?
When you can think ahead of your prey, when you can strategize, surround, and slice, speed becomes irrelevant.
You do not chase the Argentinosaurus. You simply arrive.
But intelligence, size, and serrated teeth are only as powerful as the world that forged them. And the world that built the Giganotosaurus was not a world designed for survival.
It was a crucible. 8 tons of body mass pressing into cracked, sun-scorched earth.
Every step was a commitment.
Every movement cost energy that might not be replenished for weeks.
The Cenomanian sun was not a giver of life.
It was a thief. Temperatures that could bake exposed flesh.
Dry seasons that shrank water sources to poisonous, crowded pools where predator and prey gathered in uneasy proximity because both would die without drinking.
There was no canopy. No forest. No shade.
The Patagonian interior was open, brutally, mercilessly open.
If you were prey, there was nowhere to hide. If you were predator, you had to be efficient.
Or you starved.
And then, the sound. Or rather, the absence of it.
The infrasonic rumble you felt before you heard.
The rhythmic, seismic thuds of something massive displacing the hardpan. Speed walking. Not running. Because it did not need to run.
This world, this crucible, existed 97 million years ago.
That is older than the Himalayas. You can sprint away from a predator. But you cannot walk forever. And the Giganotosaurus could.
This is not a creature of violence.
This is a creature of optimization. Evolution did not build a monster.
It built a system, a self-repairing, slow-moving, continent-spanning system for converting biomass into energy. And for millions of years, nothing could compete.
Remember those teeth. The ones that were 8% larger than any known specimen. Paleontologists call them the ghost.
Because if those teeth are real, if they belong to what the proportions suggest, then somewhere in the Patagonian badlands, there is a skull longer than 6 feet.
A body longer than 45 feet. A predator we have not met yet.
We look at the Giganotosaurus as a solved puzzle.
A chapter in a textbook.
But the ghost suggests we have not even found the cover page. The largest iteration of this design may still be in the ground, waiting for a storm to expose it, or a century to pass before we dig deep enough.
If the second largest predator to ever walk the earth can disappear without leaving a reason why, can vanish 30 million years before the apocalypse even arrived, what does that say about the permanence of our own dominance?
The Giganotosaurus walked this planet for millions of years.
It perfected a design.
It conquered a continent.
And then it was gone. We have walked this planet for 300,000. The ground beneath Patagonia holds its secrets.
And we are still learning how little we know about what once ruled here and what might still be waiting to be found.